All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to do is show you now how you can take a photo and remove the green screen so that we can bring this into InDesign and put it on a magazine cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is switch to the object and select myself. And if it doesn't do a good job, you can always add Shift to add sections it missed or Alt to delete sections that it might have accidentally gotten. Now that I have the basic outline of myself, I'm going to click on the mask button to create a mask, and you can see it did a pretty good job. Let's enter select and mask mode. If you don't see select and mask mode, try double clicking on your mask and it might pop it up that way. I like to set the view to overlay, put it on a red background and turn the opacity all the way up. It just makes it a little easier for me to see what's going on. And I'm going to start off by turning on Smart Radius and trying the edge detection to see how good of a job it does. Now you might find that's too much and you want to tone it down a little bit. So you just got to kind of find this part of this that you think works for you. So I'm going to go around here. If you want to increase the contrast, it'll sharpen the edges up a little bit. But sometimes having a little bit of a feather in there is also kind of nice. So it's not completely sharp. It's a little bit soft. You can smooth it out and that'll just take the jagged areas. You don't need to do any of these three. If everything looks good, you can just leave them alone. Sometimes you might need to shift your edge in a little bit. If you still see kind of a green halo around you, like this, you could shift your edge in as it is. Mine's pretty fine as is, so I'm just going to leave it alone at 0. Sometimes there's a hair button up here that'll kind of try to help you out with the hair. You could try clicking on that and seeing what it does. I'm not super familiar with that, but I've seen it work. So no, I'm pretty happy with that. And you can see the before. This is what we had before. This is what we have after. And it does. The next thing you're going to do is if you have any areas that do need to be manually gotten rid of, like for example, maybe you have a little patch right there of there's like a hole and you can see the green screen right in this little section. You could go into your mask and you could use a black paintbrush to manually paint out any areas. You could get some help with the magic wand to click on any areas that maybe there's a little bit of green screen still showing. You could click on it, and if you hold down Shift, you can keep clicking to kind of help you make a selection there, and then get on the black brush with your mask. And remember, on a mask, black will always hide, so I could then just come in and be like, oh, you know, I want to do a little bit of that. That will cause some jaggedness, so I might have to come in afterwards and maybe just refine this edge up a little bit by maybe using kind of a harder brush to just kind of brush that back in. Right now my flow's down, that's why it's going kind of slow. But I'm pretty happy with that. It's a pretty good looking mask. Let's move on to the next step. So now let's say that we have some areas where we got some green that's kind of spilled on top of me. So what I mean by that is you might have a little area where this happens. It's pretty common when you're doing green screening. It could be on your cheeks, it could be on your neck, it could be on your shirt. So how do I fix that? Well, go ahead and create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer color. And using a soft round brush, pretty big, I'm going to pull the flow down. So not the opacity, the flow down to about 25%. And I'm just going to brush over that with the color near it. So I'm going to use Alt to pick a color. Just brush over it. Do the same thing over here. Do the same thing on my hair. Just going to make sure I have the same color and then just get rid of all that green. We don't want to see any of that green. Oops, looks like I can see some green right there. And actually I do see a little bit of green in my hair right here. So I'm going to just come in and just paint that with my hair color, which is pretty much black right there. And then the same thing on here on my shirt, whatever color that is, just paint it. And if there's any other areas, you know, sometimes you just go in and kind of do the edges. There you go. Oops. Get rid of all that green. Next, I'm just going to set the mode of this layer to color so that you only affect the color. And then, so that I don't see all these little streaks on the edges, I'm going to create what's called a clipping mask. And that is going to just chop off all those little sides right there. So you can see the before and after. This is the green without that, and this is with that applied. So it's completely gone. It's pretty hard to tell that you did anything. Looks pretty natural, so I'm happy with that. At this point, I might come in and do some spot healing with the spot healing tool. If I had any, like, something that just, if I was doing this for a magazine or a wedding portrait and I just wanted to get rid of a blemish, not a big deal, but you're free to do that. Or if you want to just kind of decrease the shine in some areas, you can always adjust the hardness on this brush if you feel like it's too hard. But, there's the before and after. If you just look at my nose, just gets rid of some of the shine. It's not a big deal. Don't overdo it or it'll start to look really unnatural. Next, I'm going to go into this adjustment layer panel right here by clicking on this circle. And then there's all these different options you can bring up. Something is, if you're newer to Photoshop, something as simple as exposure. If you want to adjust the exposure, maybe brighten it up a little bit on the gamma correction or the exposure itself. Or the offset's going to kind of play with your contrast. I don't want to mess with that. But that will apply to everything underneath it. So if you want it to apply to your color layer, you probably want to stick it on top of the color layer for that to work. You could also do your color balance if you feel like your colors are a little out of whack and you needed to, maybe it's looking kind of green or blue and you want to make adjustments to those. I feel like my colors are pretty much where they need to be, so I'm not going to include that on here. All right, now that I'm happy with this, I'm going to go ahead and export this as a PNG. You can just do quick export PNG and give it a name that you're going to remember. So I'll give this J. Giannelli Portraits. Put it in your Creative Cloud. I always encourage you to do that. And if you even have a photo folder, you can put it in there too. And there you go. And now if I bring this into an InDesign document, we should see that it has a transparent background. So let me just create a new one real quick. You don't have to do this part. You can watch if you want to. And I'll put a rectangle here just for the background. And let's try putting in that picture. So I'll just do a file place. And I put it in my Creative Cloud, or it should be my quick access. Nope, it's not. Let's see if I can find myself. J. Giannelli Portrait. IJ. There I am. Kind of big, so let's see if we can get that shrunk down. And you can see that now it has this transparent background, and I could put anything I want behind it. Yeah, so I could change the color of this to whatever, or I could even put like another photo behind it or anything I want, and it looks pretty clean and natural. There you go.